going? Just a little video about for body composition. Okay, so the glycemic index and the glycemic load. Okay, and it's really quite an important factor when we're talking about body composition and you know how to eat properly and regulate your blood sugars and all that sort of stuff. So basically, okay, so the glycemic index is a score given to food that helps us gauge the effect of food, the effect of food on our blood sugar levels and our insulin levels. Okay, so insulin is, if you're not aware of what that is, so insulin is a hormone that is secreted by the pancreas when we eat food. Basically, it starts, your pancreas actually starts secreting insulin when you start thinking about food. Okay, obviously not a great deal, but it basically is prepping your body to for when you eat. Okay, so why is this important? Okay, well, insulin is a fat storing hormone. It's also it's an anabolic hormone, so it's a storing hormone. It's not. It doesn't care what your mind's thinking. If you're thinking, yeah, I want to get lean, I want to get ripped, or I want to get bigger, I want to get bulkier, I want to put on lean mass. It doesn't matter what you're thinking. Insulin will do exactly what insulin does, and that is store shit. Okay, so with that in mind, the whole idea is, to try and stabilize this and try and make your body as sensitive to insulin as possible, so it shuttles nutrients to the places that you want them shuttled, which obviously is your muscle cells instead of your fat cells. Okay, so basically insulin gets pumped out by the pancreas, gets sent into the bloodstream, and basically extracts glucose out of the bloodstream in the form of replenishing energy cells. And then after it's done that, after all your muscle cells are full, it's then going to send it to your liver for storage as fat. Okay, so this is why obviously eating a high carbohydrate diet and being sedentary is not the best idea. So we've got to try and make ourselves as insulin sensitive as possible. Okay, so the idea is to eat food predominantly that does not spike your blood sugar levels too high. The only time that you want to be spiking your blood sugar levels, like real hardcore, is post-workout. Okay, and this is why training with weights is a must if you are looking to get leaner, looking to put lean mass on, or whatever your goal is. Basically, guys, you got to be training with weights. Okay, that's basically rule number one. And there's a reason why they give pre-diabetics and also type 2 diabetics a weight training program, because basically what happens is that when you stimulate your muscles, receptors in them called GLUT3 receptors come up to the surface, and they pull the glucose out. Insulin basically shuttles it to your muscles. These little receptors come up to the top of the muscles and pull it out and pull the glucose to replenish the energy in those muscles. Okay, so it's it makes sense when you're having carbohydrates and stuff like that, and you need to change your body composition. We all know the more muscle you have, the more sort of metabolic you are, and the more fat that you're going to burn because of that. So yeah, it's the best idea is to train with weights, but and also it can warrant you eating carbohydrates, right? So basically, there's a little bit more to it than just looking at the glycemic index. Okay, so I just explained what the glycemic index is, but what we want to think about, which is a little bit more in depth, is about the GL. Okay, the glycemic load. Okay, so basically the glycemic load is how it's calculated, right, by taking the multiplying the foods that you're assessing, the glycemic index. So there's a glycemic index, right? So you can find out on the internet. You just go on the internet, type in glycemic index, and you'll come up with a whole range of foods and their values, right? So you have a look at that, okay? You multiply the food's glycemic index by the amount of carbohydrate in a serving of that food, and then divide it by 100, and that gives you the glycemic load. And again, there are lots of tables on the internet describing and giving you the numbers for what the glycemic load is of certain foods. Now, basically, that's more important than the glycemic index, okay? So there are some foods that the glycemic index is low, which makes us think, okay, that's good. But the glycemic load, which they don't talk about on the packets, is very high, okay? And if the glycemic load is higher, then the effect on your blood sugars and how much punch is packed into that serving of carbohydrate, that's more important, okay? So throughout the course of the day, we want to focus on carbohydrates, right, that have a lower glycemic load, okay? Because you don't want excess fat storage, okay? So like I said before, the more sugar that goes into your system, the more insulin gets pumped out by your pancreas, the more your body's anabolic, so the more it's going to be wanting to store stuff, okay? So basically speaking, okay? So what we're looking at is we're trying to find foods that have a low glycemic load to eat throughout the day, and then when it comes to post-workout time, when you've been punching some weights, you've been doing deads, squats, benches, big chins, dips, whatever it might be. I'm not talking about sitting on a machine and doing preacher curls, or doing, overhead press, sitting down and all that sort of stuff. So we want to make sure that the movements that we're doing are big compound movements like deadlifts. And if you're unsure how to do a deadlift, go and employ a personal trainer or something like that, and somebody who knows how to teach you how to do them correctly, okay? Because, they need to be done correctly, okay? So basically, that's what the glycemic load is, and that's what you're trying to look for, guys. So best advice is go onto the internet, print out the tables. You can find them. I'm going to post them up on the TFW Darwin Facebook page shortly, so you can hop over to our Facebook page and find that form. But basically, you want to be eating throughout the day foods, carbohydrates that have a low glycemic load. So we're talking like from maybe 1 to 20 maximum during the day, before you work out, and then you can start pummeling some high sugar, high glucose carbohydrates, high glycemic load carbohydrates post workout, okay? So that's the idea, guys. Train with weights. Be aware of the food that you're eating, okay, and be conscious of the food you're eating, because you can't get rid of energy. You can only change the form that it's in, okay. So those biscuits that when you walk past at work when it's morning tea and you pick a biscuit up and stick it in your gob and pretend it never happened, that shit did happen. You did eat that biscuit and it has to go somewhere, okay. So be aware of the food that you're eating, be aware of what it's actually doing to your system, and be aware of the hormonal response that happens when you do eat certain foods, guys, okay? So glycemic index, yes, look for that, but more importantly, look at the glycemic load of a food, and pre-workout, sort of the meals prior to your workouts, okay, try and keep them as low a glycemic load as you can, okay, and then post-workout, boom, get some of those high glycemic load carbs in there, replenish your muscles, get ready for round 2 the next day, okay? So this is Tom from TFW Darwin. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you soon.